सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। चैतन्यं सर्वगं सर्वं सर्वभूतगुहाशयं यत्सर्वविषयातीतं तस्मै सर्वविदे नमः। सदा च सर्वभूतेषु सदा च भूतेषु समोहमीश्वरः क्षराक्षराभ्यां परमो ह्यथोत्तमः परात्मतत्त्वं च तथा द्वयोऽपि सन् विपर्ययेणाभिमतस्त्वविद्यया देहादीनां वैषम्य दर्शनात्। If Deha, Upadhi, is a place where the knowledge takes place, the knowledge that takes place must have some relation with the Upadhi where it takes place. And the Upadhis are many and varied. Therefore, is it not likely that the knowledge that takes place with Upadhi also is varied and different? So that could have been the case had the differences in the upadhis, the variety, diversity was real. Tartamya pratibhasa avidya vilasitaha. What is superiority, inferiority, differences in various upadhis is all simply an appearance brought about by avidya. It's not real. Inasmuch as the differences in the upadhi are not real, therefore they cannot bring about any change in knowledge taking place. So who am I? Sada cha bhuteshu samoham ishvaraha. I am Ishvaraha, meaning I am ever independent, Swatantraha, not controlled by anything, controller but not controlled by anything. Sadacha bhuteshu samaha, and I am the samaha, the same in all the beings. One, there is no tartamya, no difference in the self that I am concerned, that I am, even though I am supposedly associated with all the upadhis, but then those differences of upadhis make no difference in me. I am sada samaha. Ksharaksharabyam paramaha. I am Ishvara because paramaha is superior to Kshara and Akshara Purusham Purushottamaha. Uttamaha. Paratma Tattvam Paramatma iti udahritaha. Now when you Paratma Tattvam is Para-atma Tattvam. The Atma Param is limitless, is my nature, or Paresham Atmanam Tattvam Swarupam, the Swarupa of all the Atmas. Ahameva Sarvatma ityartha, that I am the Sarvatma, that's the whole idea. Viparyayena abhimatastu avidya. Only by avidya or ignorance that viparyayena abhimataha, I am thought to be different, varied. Because of avidya, in reality, sadacha bhuteshu samaha, I am the same in all the beings, no difference in me at all, and therefore the object of knowledge, the one of which knowledge again is self, understand. Upadhi is the locus where the knowledge takes place. But the one of whom the knowledge takes place is self. And sadacha bhuteshu sama, I am ever the same in all the beings. Therefore, the knowledge that takes place is always the same. Tarikim avidya sambandho vartate. Then the differences that appear in the Atma, they are all because they are all the appearance created by avidya. So paratma tattvam paresham atmanam tattvam swarupam, the very self of all the Atmas, and the Atmas appeared are different is an appearance created by avidya. Does it mean that you have some association or connection with avidya, sambandha? So no. Avidya bhavana cha karma vihi viviktaha. And viviktaha, altogether different. Meaning vilakshana. My lakshana or characteristic is totally different from avidya kama karma. Avidya bhavana is interpreted as viparita buddhi. So, avidya means adhyasa. And so, that avidya, adhyasa, asmita, raga, dvesha, karma, is all there at some level. All of these level of mithya. And that is how each one is, all this has to be known as mithya. All that is necessary really is to know that this is mithya. Viviktaham satyam, abadhitam. So I am different from all of them, but avidya is not different from me. Avyavadihi. There is no vyavadhanam, no distance, no interference between avidya and myself, meaning avidya does not enjoy an existence separate from me. So what's the location of avidya? If the location and located are two different things, then I can be the location for avidya. But avidya is not separate from me, therefore you cannot say Atma is location of avidya. Nor Atma has any parts or vibhaga. Mamayavamsho jivaloke tripadasya divi padosya vishwabhutani. So sometimes the Atma is described as though he has some divisions. There is no division. That is again an appearance created by notion, created by ignorance. And therefore, it's not that I am the locus of avidya or a part of me is locus of avidya. Tayo viruddha svabhayo parama sambandha durghata eva. I am consciousness, ever shining. Avidya is ignorance, darkness. There cannot be any relation between the light and darkness because the relation sambandha can be between two entities that can coexist. Darkness can never coexist with light and therefore there cannot be sambandha. Even of the location and locus, located. Divandhakara parikalpyatandhakaravat atmani avidyadi kalpanam. Now how do you say that Atma is ignorant? And therefore Atma superimposes or identifies the upadhi and thinks that I am ahankara, mamakara. All of this is kalpana of what is not there. Just as divandhakara parikalpyatandhakaravat. The darkness which does not exist during the day is also thought to be there by one who is divandhakara, who cannot see during the day. So day is thought to be like dark night for that entity. So is Atma, the self-conscious, ever shining, is thought to be ignorant. Avidyadi kalpanam, it's only kalpana by ignorance. Ata sunirmalaha. There is no avidya, no impurity in me. Then how come you are perceived as a drashta, shrota, manta, vijnata? Tugrad shakti prachitoham advaya. All the drashtutvam, shrotrutvam, mantrutvam is all there in the antahkarana, the upadhi. Avidya adhyasta antahkarana parinam rupat. We accept adhyasa, superimposition. And therefore the attributes that exist in the antahkarana, drashtutva, shrotrutva, mantrutva, they are all thought to be existing in Atma. I am ever free from being drashta, shrota, manta. Continuing verse 11, verse 10. Yes, right. Evam vida atma tattva parijnane sati kaivalyam phalati. Now the conclusion of this discussion. Evam vida atma tattva parijnane. With this parijnanam, paritahjnanam, the true knowledge of atma tattva, the reality of the self, evam vida vis sunirmalaha Swarupe sthitaha yatha achalam gaganam. So Atma of that nature, also earlier, sadacha bhuteshu samoham ishvaraha sharaksharabhyam paramo yathottama. So Atma tattva of this nature, one without a second, so nirmal, ever pure, ever free. Parijnane sati, when knowledge, paritah jnanam, when the total knowledge, the true knowledge of the self takes place. Kaivalyam phalati, kaivalyam, the liberation, the videhi kaivalyam or jivan mukti phalati, that's the result. Kaivalyam, non-duality, absoluteness. Total freedom is the result of this knowledge. That is said in the verse 10. Aham param brahma vinishchayatmadrum न जायते भूय इति श्रुतेर्वचः न चैव बीजेऽप्यसति प्रजायते फलं न जन्मास्ति ततो ह्यमोहता अहम परम ब्रह्म विनिश्चय आत्मदृक् न जायते भूयः इति श्रुतेः वचः. Vachah, statement of the Shruti. In this case, Kathopanishad. The Kathopanishad doesn't say exactly these words, but something amounting to this. Kathopanishad says, Satu tatpadavapnoti yasmad bhuyo na jayate yastu vijnanavan bhavati samanaskas sada shuchihi yastu Vijnanavan bhavati. One who possesses Vijnana Viveka. Samanaskaha sada shuchihi. When Viveka is there in the life, even Viveka, the discrimination, discernment between Shreya and Preya, then in every situation one chooses Shreya and discards Preya. Shreyo he dhiro abhipreyaso gurnite. Dhira, the wise person always chooses Shreya in relation to Preya. So then that is what he becomes free or liberated. He attains the Purushartha. So this Viveki, Samanaska, that means mind enjoys always freedom from all conflict. Because his choices are in keeping with the reality of the self. All choices are in keeping with the reality in general. And therefore when you are in tune with the order, then there is harmony. So this Viveka, the right choice, right values, they bring about harmony in the mind, peace in the mind. And therefore the mind is always with us. Mind cooperates. So mind is pleased. Mind cooperates. That being the case, Samanaskaha Sada Shuchihi is ever pure. All impurities go away in the wake of the Viveka. Impurities are there. In every situation, those impurities show up. But when we deliberately exercise Viveka, then those impurities are not given the freedom to control me. And thus those impurities are the passions of the mind, they are always subdued. Samanaskaha, that's how he gains mastery over the mind. Ever pure. Satu tat padamapnoti yasmad bhuyo na jayate. He attains that pada, tad Vishnu paramam padam, which you say later. That padam, that goal, the end is attained. Yasmad bhuyo na jayate, from where he is not born again. Yad gatva na nivartante. So this statement of Kathopanishad is restated here, or is filled up here. So, aham param brahma vinishchay atmatrik vijnana sarthariyastu manah pragrahavan narah sodvanah paramapnoti tad vishnoho paramam padam. Aham param brahma. So says aham param brahma iti vinishchay atmadrik. Vinishchayena atmani drik. Jnanam yasya saha vinishchayatmadrik. Nischayane Atmani Drishti Jnanam. One who possesses the Drishti in Atma, Vinischayana, so there is Nischaya, the firm conviction. What is the firm? Aham Param Brahman. So all false convictions have gone away. Because of ignorance and old habits, the mind comes up with the conviction ahankara, mamakara, jivatma, karta, bhokta. So Vivek Buddhi, each one of them is then resolved, aham Brahman. And thus when all other convictions which are all from ignorance, they all are subdued. This conviction that I am Brahma then reigns. So that pervades. Vinischaya Atmadruk. Vinischayane Atmanidruk Drishtihi Jnanam Yasyasa. One who has this firm knowledge about the self, that Aham Brahma, he is called Aham Param Brahma Vinischayatmadruk. न जायते भूयः स भूयः पुनः न जायते. That Shruti alone can say. That a person having this knowledge is not born again. Who can say that? Only Shruti can say that. Shruti alone is Pramanam for determining what happens after death and what was there before birth, etc. Although it is reasonable that birth should not be, because birth is a result of the desire, and if one passes away or dies here with desire, then he is going to be born. Sakamabhir jayate tatra tatra. A person is born in the respective place depending on the kama or desires. Yada sare pramuchante kama yasti rudishritaha athamartyo mrto bhavati. When all the kamanas which are residing in the heart, all of them have left him, then here itself becomes immortal. Atha marte amrito bhavati. It is not that he becomes immortal after death. He becomes immortal here only because vimuktasya vimuchyate. The one who is vimukta alone becomes vimukta. So not that he becomes immortal. Discovers that I am immortal. So there never is birth for Atma, na jayate mriyate va vipaschit. That I am born is a notion because of identification with the body. When there is not there, the notion doesn't remain. So it makes sense that there is no birth. Yasmad bhuvava, the Shruti says, after his knowledge, one is not born again. Iti Shrutehe vacha vidyate, we have to add much, vidyate iti shesha. This vacha, the statement by the Shruti, obtains. So the Tikakara said, so na jayate shariravan na bhavati. He no more becomes possessed of the body. Because when he dies, he is no more possessed of the body. If an entity, Jivatma, dies as possessed of the body, he is born as possessed of the body. Aham Brahma, Param Brahma. When this is very clear to him that he is not body at all, I am Brahma, then he dies without, so supposedly death is without the body, he is no more possessed of the body. So he is not born. Well, birth is for the one who is possessed of the body. Further, the quote is Purushanna param kinchit sa kashta sa paragatihi. Indriyabhyah parahyartaha. This is how the sequence of subtlety, pervasiveness, innerness, beginning from the grossest, most outward indriya, and then vishaya, and then mind and intellect. Mahat tattva, avyakta, prakriti. Then avyakta purusha paraha. Purusha, the consciousness, is superior to even avyakta. Purushan param, there is nothing beyond that. Meaning that nothing remains to be attained. For the one who has gained the knowledge that Aham Brahma, for that one, nothing remains to be attained. Sa kastha, sa paragatihi, sa parakastha, sa paragatihi. That's the parakastha, culmination of everything. Paragatihi, that's the ultimate goal which is reached. That being the case, na jayate bhuyah. The birth is there when something still remains to be attained. When one's agenda is not complete, then birth is going to be there. That very agenda is going to force him to take birth to fulfill the agenda. Buddhiman syat kritakrityasya bharata. Kritakritya means he has done everything that needs to be done, so there is nothing remains to be done. And therefore, sa kastha sa paragatihi. This Paramatma is parakastha paragatihi. Who knows Paramatma self also is, he attained that parakastha paragatihi. Nothing remains to be attained. Therefore, there is no reason to be born again. Atha sobhayam gato bhavati yada hyevaisha etasmin dushyedatme nirukte nilayane abhayam padishtham vindate atha sobhayam gato bhavati. When one what is it? Taitirupana. Very good. So then abhayam gato bhavati, one becomes fearless. Abhayam pratistham vindate, because he has gained pratishtha, abidance, fearlessness. That's the nature of the self. Yada etasmin adrushye anatme. Adrushya is not drushya, is subject. Anatma without the body. Anilayane, anirukte, which cannot be described in words. Anilayane, which doesn't have any abode, which is not an abode, which doesn't have an abode. Abhayam pratistham vindate. Nirvishesha in short. Atha sa abhayam gato bhavati. Then he becomes established in fearlessness. So you call it freedom from fear, freedom from desire, freedom from agenda, all the same. Brahma Veda Brahmaya Bhavati. Mundakopanishad. One who knows Brahma becomes Brahma, becomes Brahma. A Prusarnik also, but Mundako. Hey. Mundakopanishad. Band thega. Paramam Brahma Veda Brahmaya Bhavati. Who knows Param Brahma becomes Brahma. Iticha. Meaning one knows Brahma becomes Brahma because he is athamartyo mruto bhavati. One thought he was Jiva discovers that he is Brahma. So all of these are the statements of Shruti. न जायते भूयः is not born again, meaning is free from the cycle of birth and death. So this is what the Shruti says, and Tika says Shruti siddhyarthe yuktim apyaha. So this artha, this meaning or the purport, the tatparya, the see of the Shruti, yuktim apyaha, that it makes sense also. What Shruti says also is in keeping with reasoning. As we say that we do not arrive at what Shruti says by reasoning. What Shruti says is in keeping with reasoning. Shruti siddharthe yuktim apyaha. The author says yukti, the reasoning also. Third line, na chaiva bije pyasati prajayate phalam. That's a big yukti. So what is it? Asati bije phalam naiva prajayate. When bija is not, the phala is not there. When seed is not there, fruit is not going to be. Seed is karanam, the fruit is karyam, and karanam is not there, karya is not there. It's a, So what does it mean here? Uktam samanyanayam prakrute yoja. This samanyanaya. The common well-known rule is that karyam effect cannot be when karanam, the cause, is not there. The fruit cannot be when the seed is not there. So prakrute yojayati, this general rule, how does it apply to the matter under discussion? न जन्मास्ति ततो ह्यमोहता यस्मात् अमोहता. Amohata, the state of amoha, state of absence of moha, absence of viveka, absence of ajnanam. Pragukta vartmana moharahityam. Pragukta vartmana, by the manner in which it had been shown earlier, moharahityam, there is no moha, discussed so far. Tato hetoho na janma sthiti yojana. Janma is the karyam, moha is the karanam. When karanam moha is not there, janma the karyam cannot be there. मोहपदवाच्य अविद्यामूलत्वात् जन्मादिविकारस्य तदभावे अभावः एव इत्यर्थः. मोहपदवाच्य अविद्यामूलत्वात्. Here the meaning of the word moha is avidya. So janmadivikarasya avidyamūlatvaत्. All vikaras begin with janma, all of them have the root in ignorance. No, these vikaras are there. There is vikara, the janma, then jayate, asti, vardhate, vipare, all these vikaras are there in the body. Those vikaras are thought to exist, be in Atma only because of avidya. That I am born and I am growing and I am going to die, this is the identification of the body. So janma, the vikarasya, there is no janma. But thinking that Atma is born or I am born, that is rooted only in ignorance. Unfortunately, as long as the notion is there, there is also the birth going on in the body, and therefore that identification continues. So notion that I am born also continues. Not that ignorance brings about birth of Atma. Ignorance does what it can do. Ignorance is the cause that creates the body. And whatever is created is going to be changing, therefore body is the vikara. So that is all right. Unfortunately, what ignorance does is also, it creates identification of the body, and therefore the vikaras of the body are thought to be vikaras of Atma, therefore I say I am born. When things are joined with Atma, this is when they become problem. And so as long as that identification is there so long, the birth of the body is thought to be birth of Atma. And then, when Atma is thought to be born, then feels sense of limitation, then there is desire, then there is karma, then karma phala all of these exist only at the level of upadhi. But because there is a habit of identifying with the upadhi, therefore, all these things happening at the level of upadhi are thought to be happening to me. Moha nivritya, so janma tad abhave abhava. All that is necessary is freedom from identification, not freedom from vikara. Freedom from vikara cannot be, where vikara is, there cannot be freedom from vikara. And we don't care about vikara. We are concerned about vikara taking place in me. And that is brought about by aviveka, moha, and when that is not there, then vikara can be where they are, and they are not a problem to me. So tadabhave abhava, when there is no vikara in atma, there is no janma in atma, then najayate bhuyah. Atma was never born, but now realize that I am never born. मोह कार्यत्वात् संसारस्य मोह निवृत्त्या निवृत्ति एव इति उक्तम्. The samsara is the karya, the effect, a product of moha. Moha means aviveka. Aviveka means taking something to be contrary to what it is. Taking rope to be snake is called aviveka. Just taking atma to be limited is aviveka. Taking anatma to be atma, taking body etc. is atma, and thereby taking atma as limit, all this is aviveka. False perception. So, moha karyatvat samsara, the chain of birth and death is all the effect of moha or aviveka. Moha nivrittya nivritti eva. So, when the cause goes away, the effect goes away. Samsara is purely the effect of moha. This is what Vedanta tells us, that there is no reason for dukkha at all. Tatra ko moha kashoka. There is no question of any shoka. That is called samsara. Birth and death also is not samsara. Samsara is shoka moha is samsara. Birth can be there. There are some wise people who are born without grief, so there is no samsara. But birth also need not be called samsara. Birth also is a reality. But this shoka has no reality at all, not even vyavaharik satta. The birth and death etc. vyavaharika satta. But shoka has no vyavaharik satta also, understand. Upon vyavahara also superimposition is done. So vyavahara can remain and shoka need not be. That is called freedom. So moha nivrittya nivritti eva. Either you can say nivritti of the process of chain of birth and death, or nivritti from shoka and moha. Tatra kimatmakam moha karyamiti apekshayam tadaha. When this is the case, then what's the nature of this moha? Or what moha karyam? What karya, what effect the moha brings about? Aviveka brings about identification, ahankara, mamakara, so this is the karya of moha, so that's what is. So, next verse tells us how moha pervades in our life. When we are talking about freedom, what freedom are we talking about? When we are clear about what bondage is, then the nature of freedom also becomes clear. That to be born, to be in the body, etc., to live life is not samsara. The various notions about myself are samsara, but they cause grief. Living life need not cause grief. Therefore, kimatmakam moha karyam, how does this moha manifest in our life? Then we know how I am living in moha. And what do I have to become free from? That also becomes clear. So the verse 11 says, Mamedamittam cha tathedamidrusham tathahamevam na paro na vanyatha vimudhataivam na janasya kalpana sada same brahmani chadvaye shive. Mama, this is mine, or Mama, mine, idam this, ittam, this is like this, tatha, idam idrusham, and then this one is like that, and this one is like this, tatha aham evam, I am like this, na para, other fellow is not like me, navanyatha, or I am not like that, whatever. So constantly in the mind, this kind of thinking about myself is going on. The I is the most predominant subject matter of my thoughts. And every moment I entertain some notion or the other about myself. And then that notion brings about the thoughts and reactions and vyavahara, etc. So all those various notions, this is how, what kind of imaginary world I am living in. I am living in a world, imagine, I am living in the world of myself alone. I always live in myself. But imaginary world, because I imagine myself to be what I am not, and in that I live. So the Tika says, Pratham dehadve ahankara. So first what happens is this identification dehadve. In the gross body and subtle body, ahankara. So aham is first thing is not stated here, but that is the beginning. The idea of I, which arises from the body I am, the gross body I am, the subtle body I am. Therefore, this identification upadhi creates a sense of individuality in Atma, who is samabham sarvabhuteshu, who is the same in all of them. The self, that is the self of all, that is limitless. Without attributing that, the first thought is created, aham, the sense of individuality is created. Individuality does exist somewhere, where in this body it is individual. The upadhi, the dehadvaya, the gross and subtle body, they enjoy individuality, distinction. That's called creation. To create distinction, this is called creation. One clay, indistinct clay, you create distincts of pots and pans, that's called creation. So thus distinctions are created, which is fine. But then distinctions obtaining in the creation are thought to be distinctions in me when there is identification. Prasamam dehadve ahankara. So what the aviveka, the swarupa of aviveka is what? Ahankara, identification of dehadve. I mean, I am the gross body, I am the subtle body, dehoham. How do you say there is identification of the body? Mama tatah tad bhashyat kalpanam idam. From ahankara comes mamakara. From I comes mine. This is my body, etc. Then when I say I am aham I, then I confine myself to this dehadvaya. The identification creates a notion of confinement to what I am identified with. Every moment I am identified with something or the other. And I get confined to what I am identified with. So I am identified with the gross body, I am confined to that. And anything outside of that confinement is called out there. There is a boundary which is imagined by me. And what I am identifying with causes the notion of boundary. What is within the boundary is thought to be within. Outside the boundary is called out there. So idam tada bhahyartha kalpanam. There's something is bhahya. In fact, as far as Atma is concerned, there is nothing bahya. Yatha nidraya, just as in a dream. The whole dream world is within me, but then the Maya creates a notion of the outside world. Yes, sakshat kurute prabodha samaye swatmanavevadvayam. Advayatma is thought to be many. So bhashya, the whole dream world, even though it is within me, not only with I, but I think it is outside of me. So that's a kalpana. So just as there is kalpana in the dream, these are all dream objects other than me, so also the waking. So outside, the confined man creates the idea of outside. Idam, this. Then what happens? Further kalpana goes on. Tatta shobhanadi adhyasa ittamiti. It is like this. This is good. Not good. My mind is going to judge anything that it comes in contact with. So first I divide myself, then I call those things outside other than me, then I further superimpose idea upon them that this is good, this is not good, this is favorable, unfavorable, likable, dislikable. This adhyasa upon me results into adhyasa upon other things also. This happens, ittamati. So, mama, idam, ittam cha is like this. Tato mamedam, then this is mine. Tacha idrusham, tata idam idrusham. Idam it is like this. From the shobhanadhyasa. It's good, bad, etc. Tathat nava anyatha, tatha na mama. When I say this is mine, rest is not mine. My house, my other house are not mine. So, tatha na mayedam iti kalpana. This is also kalpana. This is mine the kalpana, so this is not mine also becomes kalpana. If this is not mine, then everything is mine also in a way. When the notion about myself changes. Tatha aham evam na parava nanyatha. Tatha paropi evam. Then other people also imagine. The other person is like this. Anyathava nasti, or is not like that. Is like me, not like me. Is like that, not like that. So idam, as far as the insentient things are concerned, this shobhanadhyasa goes on. Then there is likes and dislikes, or udasinata, indifference. With people also adhyasa goes on. Favorable, unfavorable, comparison goes on. The human being compares the self with everybody. So that person is like me. I am like that. I am better than that one. I am not as good as that one. This automatically goes on. These notions automatically arise and then they determine my vyavahara. I don't even know. So this is what moha, avidya does in our life. Then this is what we have to note. Anyatha vasti, nasti va, asti va iti. It is like this, not like that, etc., etc. And so, we can, these are the, in short, I have opinion about everything. It starts with opinion about myself, and then also results into opinion about everything that I come in contact with. Because without opinion I cannot relate, I can't do vyavahara. I cannot interact with somebody or something, even anything like this also. I cannot interact. I'll first have opinion as to what this thing. Then I will treat it accordingly. Even opinion that is mine or not mine, then if it is not mine, I may handle it in different way. If it's mine, I may handle it in different way. It's good, I may handle it one way. No good, then in different way. Favorable, unfavorable. These opinions first there, and then my relationship or interaction with this is determined by all these opinions that have already taken place. So every moment I behave differently. I come in contact with different entities, sentient, insentient. About each entity I have my own opinion at that time. It can be different next moment. And that opinion about myself and about that entity I come in contact with, that determines how I am going to react. There can be raga, dvesha, udasinata. It is just amazing. This is how we are living life, controlled by moha, which creates these notions, and we take that for granted. Nobody questions these notions. Other than Vedanta, nobody questions these notions. And then you want to make it favorable, and then all kinds of politics goes on, maneuvering goes on, manipulation. Because I am comfortable only when something is favorable to me, so I must make it favorable. And if it cannot be, then I should get rid of it. I cannot be comfortable in presence of something that is not favorable. So either I should make it favorable or create a distance, something. So whether I am able to do, my mind keeps on doing something inside, I may not be able to do outwardly. So poor mind always is in the constant struggle. And unfortunately, these opinions keep changing also. I may think this is favorable, next moment I mean it's not, then again opinion changes and my behavior changes and mindset changes. That's all of India. It's called Maya. Vimudata mama parasyava sugnyata cha. That I am vimuda, or this fellow is deluded, I am deluded, I am not deluded, he is not deluded. Vimudata. There is also one of the opinions, So vimudata mama parasyava sugnyata cha. I am sugnya, I am wise, I understand things very well. Vimuda, I am confused, I am deluded. So that's what I think. I think you are confused, I think you are deluded. I think you understand all right, I know what I am talking about. So I understand. So about me and then about the other one with whom I have communication, all these opinions, whether it is Muda or Sugnya, I am Muda or Sugnya. So all of this is the product of, it's interesting to once sit down and watch these things, In Vyavahara, they control me, so that time I may not have control over things. When I am by myself, I can see the play of what this moha or ignorance does in my life. How it makes me dance. And what it does is that it also sugnyata all the time. I think I am wise, I know what I am doing. So usually I think that my opinions and thoughts, etc. are all right. Other people don't understand. There's another moha also that this thing creates. Anyway, all kinds of things are going on. But we can watch the play of our own mind when we are not doing anything. That time maybe we objective about our own mind. So therefore, this is the effect that moha has. Evam, see, nakara, vimudata evam na janati, na goes with what? Na sada same brahmani chadve shive, na goes there. Evam janasya kalpana, not na janasya kalpana, evam janasya kalpana. All of this is kalpana of jana. Jana, janasya janmadi yoginah, anadi ajnanitarhut atma svabhavasya kalpana jana, means jivatma. So Tikakara said, who is jana? Janmadi yogi, jana, one who is born, subject to birth. Janmadi yoginah. And one who is born, a thing that is born is what? Because anadi ajnana terohita atma svabhasya. When you are born with identification of the body. So ajnana tirohita atma svabhasya, born with the tirohita atma svabha, where the knowledge of true nature of myself is veiled by ignorance. And therefore, janmadi yogina, therefore I am associated with birth, etc. Evam vidha kalpana. So this is kalpana of a jana. This is not reality. All the things that are stated, all of these are the notions, are all kalpana. Sada, where is this kalpana? Same brahmani adve shive paramanrive nacha nastyeva. About Brahman or Atma, all these kalpanas are done. But in reality, in Atma, sa same brahmani adve shive. Nature of Atma is sama. The Vishamata is in the Upadhi. Adve, the Dvaitam, duality, divisions are in the Upadhi. Shiva is ever auspicious or impurity are in the Upadhi. Shive Paramananda Rupe. The Dukkha may be there, Dukkha is nowhere but is imagined to be there. But Atma is Paramananda Rupa. All these, so, all these do not exist in Atma. What's the nature of Atma? Sada same brahmani adve shive. That's the nature of Atma. To think that aham, mama, idam, itham, sugnyata, mudata, all of these are the notions about Atma, which Atma in reality the self is Sada, Sama, Brahma, Advaya, Shiva. Upon this Atma, all these different kalpanas are done by the jana, by the one who is under the influence of aviveka. Therefore, janmadi yogi, therefore connected with birth, etc. Upon Atma such as this, these kalpanas are constantly being made. This is what? Moha karyam. Kim atmakam moha karyam. What is the nature of the effect of moha? That moha or aviveka, which is the product of ignorance, brings about this kind of kalpana, the projections upon Atma, who has nothing to do with that. Who is sada same, one who is sama, ever the same, is thought to be different in each one. Advaya, one who is non-dual, is thought to be many and divided. Brahmani, one that is Brahman or limitless, is thought to be limited. Shiva, auspicious Ananda Swarupa, is thought to be Dukhi. The kalpanas also are totally contradictory. The kalpana is, so we are always thrown off. What the road that we take is totally opposite to the destination. What this jana or jivatma thinks about the self is quite contrary in nature to what he truly is. There is no meeting point. What I am is Brahman, limitless, and I take myself as limited. What I am is Sama, the same, and I take myself as Vishama, different. What I am is Advaya, non-dual, Ananda Swarupaha. Upon Atma, who is of this nature, this ignorance makes me project all these kind of things, and then I suffer. I am the cause of my suffering. When I find myself Brahma or limited, I am unhappy. When I am impure, I am unhappy. I am divided, unhappy. I am limited, unhappy. We do not need any other reason to be unhappy. Nothing has to happen or not happen out there. What is enough to make me unhappy is this projection about myself, my perception of myself. What avidya does is create a wrong or false perception of myself. A viparya, false, opposite, contrary perception of myself. The rope is seen as a snake, where snakeness has no existence in rope. And this duality, limitedness, impurity, etc. have no existence in Atman. And I take myself with that, and that perception is a cause of unhappiness. Therefore, to remove unhappiness, what needs to be done is change that perception. That's what Vedanta says. There is no cause for unhappiness in my life other than my perception of myself, which is brought about by the avidya, which brings about identification, then that whole explanation is given. Why do I think like this about myself? We have the experience that I think I am limited. I am divided. I am excluded. These are my... And how does it bring about? So this prakriya is given to us. This identification prakriya to explain. Show the possibility that this must be there. Otherwise, how can I think like this about myself? With Ananda Swarupa, how can I think that I am dukhi? Or I am limited? Because limitation in some place, and I see it where it is not, that's why it's called superimposition. But understand that the cause of unhappiness is my perception of myself, and cause of happiness also is my perception of myself. As simple as that. Right perception is called knowledge, wrong perception is called ignorance. All that is necessary to change, my perception of myself has to change. But Swami, all right, now I say I am Brahman, that doesn't work, unfortunately. Because perception is not an intellectual perception. You can call it experience, emotional. That is where change has to take place. And so, Antakarana Shuddhi is the level of emotion. The Vairagya at the level of intellect has to be translated or permeated at the level of emotion. That's emotional faculty is called mind. And that is where samsara is. That is, at that level we do all the vyavahara. All pleasure and pains are in mind. And mind is habitual faculty. And therefore this perception is built in. And therefore it will just come up without my effort. So intellect has to note that perception and keep on correcting and educating mind all the time. And it must be accompanied also with right life. Merely the education doesn't help unless a primary change happens. Therefore, life also must be lived according to that. So that's called yoga. And so the life should become a process of transformation. Transforming myself. There is no other way. There may be some chamatkara, etc., which we don't know. But uddharet atmana atmanam. I have to lift myself, rescue myself by myself. Then help can be there, all grace can be there, no doubt about that. Ishvara Kripa, Guru Kripa, Shastra Kripa, she is there. But ultimately I have to work. Although Bhakti Shastra says Ishvara does everything, that's Bhakti. Tesham samudharta mrityu samsara sar. So you do it, Bhagavan. Maybe so. But for Bhagavan to do, I have to do something also. Tesham satad yuktanam bhajatam pridipurvakam dadami buddhi. He gives buddhi yoga not just like that. When he sees that they are worshipping me without any agenda, constantly, he only loves me. Otherwise he is also very jealous. As long as you have somebody in your life, you do. I must be the only one in your life. That's what Bhagavan says. Maya vaishavrunate ten labhya. So all this changes the perception. Antahakana Shuddhi also means change of perception. As Antahakana becomes Shuddha, my perception of myself also changes constantly, culminates into Aham Brahmasmi. Not that all of a sudden it happened. That perception keeps on changing, culminates into Sa Kashcha Sa Paragati. So what ignorance does in our life also is described here. We will continue. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamada Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeri Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.